In Chinese medicine, we often use complex herbal formulas to treat conditions that people suffer from. However, you can use herbal teas. Just simple teas every day are strong enough to make a subtle but effective change. The complex formulas often taste pretty bad, but as the saying goes, good medicine tastes bitter. But single herbs can be used safely as daily teas to support your mood and nervous system. And they don't really taste too bad, at least the 5 that we're gonna mention today. Now, disclaimer, always consult a qualified practitioner. I'm not giving you medical advice. Please don't sue me. Teas are one of the safest and most acceptable ways to take herbs. Unlike pills or tinctures, teas engage your senses. They have aroma, it has a warmth, and you can create a ritual around it where you can relax and sip your tea and enjoy the time away from society and all those things that tend to bother us. These herbs are traditionally used in TCM to calm the spirit and nourish what we call the heart or the emotional center, and ease what we call liver qi stagnation, which is really more akin to a state of sympathetic flight or flight in the body. Now, our first herb that we want to cover is called He Huan Hua, or the mimosa silk tree blossom, used in Western medicine or Western herbology, typically called mimosa, to also ease tension and stress. In Chinese medicine, its flavor is said to be sweet, and its nature, which is its temperature, whether it's a hot, spicy, or cool and cooling, is said to be neutral, neither. It enters the meridians of the liver and heart. And we say it relieves that liver qi stagnation and any sort of emotional constraint, and calms the spirit, and uplifts mood and promotes general relaxation. Now, it can be paired with some other herbs, the ones that we're talking about today, as well as some other ones like Mei Gua Hua, which is literally just rose petals, which also moves the qi and enhances the mood. The taste of this herb is floral, slightly sweet, and we should steep it for about 5 to 10 minutes if we're going to use it. Now, the next herb is called Zhuhua, or chrysanthemum flower. Now, its properties in Chinese medicine is sweet, slightly bitter, and its nature is slightly cooling or slightly cold. And we say that it enters the liver and the lung. Now, in Chinese medicine, its functions is to clear what we say liver heat and calm irritability and tension, soothes the spirit, and supports relaxation. Now, what do we mean by liver heat? It's a way of saying that when we are frustrated and we start showing redness in the face, redness in the eyes, or extreme irritability, we say there's heat behind it because it literally looks like heat. Chinese medicine is a very poetic language as opposed to something that's very strict and reductive. This herb actually pairs well with goji berries or goqizi, and also pairs very well with bohe, or the common mint leaf. Both taste quite well and have enhancing effects of both cooling the body and anchoring that heat or cooling that heat off. We want to steep it for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now, note that this herb is really good for stress that comes with heat signs like irritability and red eyes. Otherwise, it's not necessarily indicated. Now, our next herb is called Suan Zao Ren, or the sour jujube seed. In Chinese medicine, its flavor is sweet, sour, and its nature is neutral. And we say that it enters the heart, liver, and gallbladder. Now, its functions in Chinese medicine is to nourish the cooling aspect of the heart, or what we call the heart yin, and to nourish the blood of the body, which is also something that cools and calms us. It calms the spirit, it eases anxiety, and is good for insomnia. It reduces restlessness and irritability. Its taste is earthy and nutty. Because it's a seed, we need to simmer it a little longer, so about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, that's one thing that we want to talk about. When we're normally making tea, we only steep tea maybe 2 to 5 minutes, sometimes even less. For medicinal teas, we really want to steep them longer to get as much as we can out of these herbs, especially when it comes to barks and seeds. Now, our next herb is a root called Gan Cao, known as licorice. Its flavor is sweet, and if it's not processed, it's considered to be neutral in its nature. If it's processed, it can get a little warmer, and it enters the spleen, the stomach, the heart, the lung, and we say it tonifies the spleen qi, harmonizes the overall body, and soothes stress and tension. Now, what do we mean by spleen qi? The spleen is an organ that we say is responsible for digestion and overall making the qi from the food that we eat, essentially being able to take all the minerals and all the nutrients from the food and make sure that the body can use it. Don't get confused with the actual organ of our spleen. Remember, Chinese medicine is a poetic language. So in this case, this actually helps aid digestion, which is something that we know licorice has been used for even in the West. Its taste, it's naturally just a little sweet. And because it's a thicker root, we want to at least simmer it for about 10 minutes. Now, very important, in its unprocessed form, avoid overuse in hypertension or edema because it can actually give you slight tachycardia and increased heart rate. Now, our next herb is called Wu Wei Zi, or schisandra berry, also known as the 5-flavor fruit because it has all 5 flavors. It has both sour, sweet, salty, bitter, and pungent. These are the 5 flavors that we associate with the 5 phases, or also sometimes called the 5 elements. Now, good Wu Wei Zi, if you put it in your mouth and you hold it there, you will see it cycles through all of those flavors. Now, in Chinese medicine, we say that this herb is slightly warm, and it enters the heart and the kidneys and the lungs. Now, the TCM functions is that it both calms the spirit and it stabilizes our mood. We also say it tonifies the kidneys, which roughly means supports our adrenal function. It's a little more complex than that, but in a way it has adaptogenic properties, and it's also good to stop sweating. It can pair quite well with goji berries again. So what does this herb taste like? Because it has all 5 flavors, if it's good quality, it's going to taste sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and a little pungent. You want to simmer this one for a little longer, 10 to 15 minutes at least, and try it with those goji berries or even some rose hips to enhance the flavor. Now, how do we use these herbs effectively? First, just try the herbs solo, one by one. Choose an herb that you think matches for you. Remember, we're not trying to treat any sort of disease here. We're just trying to make really good tasting tea that maybe calms us down and takes an edge off. Remember, I'm not giving you any medical advice whatsoever. But if you were to try these, make a single tea first. Enjoy and see how the complex flavor of each feels and what it feels like when you sit and sip it over time. Now, you can start mixing and matching the herbs, making mini little formulas. You can add a little honey to it, or you can mix it even with a little green tea or some black tea, depending. Now, when we're looking at temperatures, most of the herbs I gave you were neutral. I also gave you one that was slightly cooling, right? Which means that there's going to be more redness, more flushness, and more agitation. And I gave you some that are a little warming, which you don't want to use when you have a lot of agitation and flushness. So try to match them to your temperament. Generally, you want to use about 3 to 6 grams of an herb to make a medicinal tea. That's a good low number to start, which means that you're probably boiling the herbs in a larger pot and then straining it into the cup, especially if you're combining different herbs. One of my favorite mixtures is Suan Zao Ren, He Huan Hua, and Gan Cao. It makes a great trio, and it's great, calming, delicious tea. Are you looking for personalized support? You can always book a telewellness consult with me. The link is in the bio and in the text below. I really appreciate you listening. I hope you really enjoyed this content. And if you're looking for personalized support, you can always book a wellness consult with me. The link should be down below.